Tonight, War Report. The top U.S. general in Iraq says there's been progress, but troop withdrawal should be halted this summer.
The champagne bottle's been pushed to the back of the refrigerator.
The general faces questions from his next commander-in-chief. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, the Olympic torch is here. And so are the protesters. Will the relay be canceled? Plus, something fishy is going on in Florida. And it's creating quite a racket.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. 7 months ago, America's top general in Iraq went before Congress to declare the surge was working and the U.S. could start bringing some troops home. Today, General David Petraeus returned to Capitol Hill, but this time he announced plans to stop those troop withdrawals in July with no timetable for resuming them. David Martin begins our coverage tonight.
Battling his way through a crossfire of photographers, the rock star general gave Congress a sober assessment of the war.
We haven't turned any corners. We haven't seen any lights at the end of the tunnel. The champagne bottle's been pushed to the back of the refrigerator.
General Petraeus told the Senate Armed Services Committee that when the surge ends this summer and troop strength comes down from its high of 170,000 to 140,000, there will be a 45-day pause. Only then will he begin to consider further withdrawals, with no guarantees any more troops will come home.
It seems to me that what you've given to your chain of command is a plan which has no end to it.
U.S. military officers say Petraeus is unlikely to recommend any more cuts until after provincial elections are held in October, and that troop strength will not go below 130,000 by the end of the year, about where it was before the surge started.
Is all this sacrifice bringing about a more secure America?
Well, I've thought more than a bit about that, Senator.
Can you now, just in simple language, tell us, yes, it is worth it, and it is making us safer here at home?
Senator, I do believe it is worth it.
Petraeus displayed charts which recorded dramatic drops in violence and maps which showed al-Qaeda has lost many of its sanctuaries.
Al-Qaeda cannot stand the surge because you've been kicking them all over Iraq.
But neither Petraeus nor Ambassador Crocker could claim Iraqi politicians have used the let-up in violence to settle the differences which keep them from being a real government.
I think they're moving in the right direction, but yes, I also believe they've got an awful lot more in front of them.
Whoever the next president is, he or she will inherit a war with no end in sight. Katie?
All right, David Martin at the Pentagon tonight. David, thank you. In fact, the next commander-in-chief got to question General Petraeus and Ambassador Crocker today. The politics of war took center stage as all three presidential candidates took part in these Senate hearings. Chip Reed continues our coverage.
All three candidates began the day in full campaign mode.
My friends, we will never surrender to the extremists.
John McCain at a rally for Iraq war veterans, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama at a conference for union workers.
I can stand up to John McCain with credibility and say no to a 100-year occupation of Iraq.
But defying the predictions of some Washington pundits, they left the political theater at the hearing room door. McCain, whose speeches on Iraq usually eviscerate his opponents, today toned it down.
The promise of withdrawal of our forces, regardless of the consequences, would constitute a failure of political and moral leadership.
Clinton, who amiably chatted with General Petraeus, criticized his strategy but was unusually subdued.
Supporters of the administration's policy often talk about the cost of leaving Iraq, yet ignore the greater costs of continuing the same failed policy.
And surprising some observers, she did not use the opportunity to attack McCain, who had long ago left the room, or Obama, who also left politics aside, calmly stating his differences with Petraeus.
The problem I have is if the definition of success is so high, then that portends the possibility of us staying for 20 or 30 years.
One big reason for the non-political tone of this hearing is that even senators who disagree with Petraeus say they respect him greatly. Katie?
Chip Reed reporting tonight from Capitol Hill. Meanwhile, the next big primary race is getting tighter. A new poll of Democratic voters in Pennsylvania shows Hillary Clinton leading Barack Obama by 6 points. Last week in the same poll, she led by 9. The primary is 2 weeks from today, and top Democrats say Clinton must win it to keep her campaign alive. From politics to protests now and the trials of the Olympic torch. It arrived today in San Francisco as it continues an 85,000-mile odyssey through 135 cities and 20 countries before ending up in Beijing. All along, there have been protests over China's crackdown in Tibet, and that has Olympic officials thinking of canceling the remainder of the torch's international journey. Ben Tracy has the latest.
By the time the Olympic flame arrived at San Francisco's airport today, the city was on edge. Demonstrators marched on the Chinese consulate, and security at the Golden Gate Bridge was tight after protesters managed to climb the bridge's cables Monday.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Tibetan Freedom Torch.
Demonstrators also unveiled their own torch today. It was missing a flame, but still reignited an anti-China protest movement that has spanned continents and at times turned the Olympic torch relay into a wrestling match.
The protest taking place all over the world sends a clear message to the Chinese.
All of this has given the struggle for freedom in Tibet an Olympic-sized platform.
It's a good way to let the world know what's going on.
The Olympic torch is expected to take a 6-mile journey around the city's waterfront Wednesday, but the route may now be changed or shortened to throw off protesters.
It will continue to change. It will change up until that torch is passed and potentially even through the middle of the relay.
The chaos during the relay in Paris and London has led one San Francisco torchbearer to drop out. But Jasmine Nachigal plans to carry on.
I'm a little bit afraid, but I'm going to have to translate this fear into courage.
Free Tibet! The Chinese government had hoped to use the Beijing Olympics as a reintroduction to the world, but instead they've been burned by the torch fiasco.
The Chinese are clearly going to dig in their heels, and in some ways it might make the situation there even worse.
At today's rally, speakers urged nonviolence, but with the protests continuing to heat up, there are no guarantees.
We're human, we're not like saints or anything.
As you can see, the protest at the Chinese consulate is still taking place, and there's another big rally planned for tonight with some major star power, Desmond Tutu and Richard Gere. Ben Tracy, CBS News, San Francisco.
Now to Texas, where authorities are conducting the largest abuse investigation in state history. Police say all the children have now been taken away from a ranch that is home to a polygamous sect. 416 in all. It's still not clear if the teenager who tipped them off is among them, but tonight officials are telling her story, which we should warn you is very disturbing. Hari Srinivasan is in West Texas tonight.
With at least 15 more children removed from the compound today, authorities revealed disturbing details about the phone call that first brought them there. Court documents claim a teenage caller told them a story of beatings and forced sex. She says she was the 7th wife of 50-year-old Dale Barlow, that he fathered a child she had at 15, and he was abusive, quote, hitting her in the chest and choking her, and that while such abuse was occurring, one of the other women would hold her infant child. Barlow is still being sought and is believed to be in Arizona. The caller's identity remains a mystery.
I still cannot confirm if we have the original 16-year-old girl.
The documents also allege that the girl was told if she left the compound, she'd be forced to cut her hair and have sex with lots of men. The petition also says the children at the ranch were deprived of nutrition and closed in closets. Stories explaining why authorities are now overwhelmed by the sheer number of children they removed.
It's been very difficult to find placement in a temporary setting for these children. We really have reached our maximum capacity here at this location in San Angelo.
The ranch remains sealed, but for the first time, the space above it was briefly open to air traffic. Investigators are still on the scene, collecting evidence. Kathy Mankin has flown over this ranch dozens of times, chronicling its growth for the local paper, the El Dorado Success. It looks dramatically different from what she remembers.
Would there be people walking around?
They used to run and hide. They would run to trees, they would bury their head, they would lower their heads down.
For now, the men remain at the compound. Today, a second man was arrested for interfering with police.
And among all the disturbing details that emerged today, Katie, one more. In that original phone call from the 16-year-old girl, she claimed that she is several weeks pregnant.
All right, Hari Srinivasan, such a disturbing story. Hari, thank you. Late word tonight that American Airlines is once again canceling flights while it conducts new inspections of the wiring in some of its planes. Up to 500 flights were canceled today, and more cancellations are in fact expected tomorrow. Nancy Cordes covers transportation for us. And Nancy, how many planes are involved, and why are they having to re-inspect them?
300 planes, Katie, their entire MD-80 fleet, which makes up a large part of the entire American Airlines fleet. All of these airplanes were inspected last week because the airline was trying to comply with an FAA directive. They thought they had done what they needed to do. They put all those planes back up into the air. But last night, the FAA performed spot checks on the planes. They found that 9 out of the 10 of them had discrepancies, and they told Americans to just go back to the drawing board.
It's pretty scary for people who fly. Meanwhile, how financially damaging is this for the airline that's already struggling?
Well, it's too early to put it into numbers, but what we're looking at is about 1,000 flights canceled between last week and what's happening right now. And the airline obviously doesn't get the revenue from those flights, and it's also offering to rebook passengers on other planes. So it does end up being pretty costly for the airline.
But when they do fly, hopefully they'll be safe. Nancy Cordes. Nancy, thank you so much. There is much more CBS News ahead later. When a grenade landed at his feet, he could have escaped, but instead an act of undaunted courage earned him the nation's highest honor. But up next, Immigration Nation. This fence will cost taxpayers $1 billion, but critics say it won't keep illegal immigrants out. It's an issue that's divided Americans and defied an easy solution: immigration. For decades now, U.S. policy has focused on the Mexican border. The border is almost 2,000 miles long. The U.S. is building fences along a third of it to keep illegal immigrants out. But it's less than half finished and over budget. But the Bush administration is determined to complete it. Will it do the job? Bill Whitaker continues our special series, Immigration Nation.
This is what had Americans clamoring for a border fence. Mexican nationals storming the border near San Diego day and night. That was the early 90s. This is today. Double fencing, stadium lighting, surveillance cameras, motion detectors. The most heavily fortified 5 miles of the border, all monitored from this command center near San Diego.
Over the years, San Diego sector has been able to incrementally gain operational control of this area.
Proof? The number of people caught crossing illegally has dropped dramatically, from 600,000 a year in the early 90s to just 153,000 last year. Fewer apprehensions means fewer people sneaking across, says the Border Patrol, but not even all of this.
So that's Mexico just right there?
Yes.
Can fully shut down the illegal flow.
Here you've got 2 fences.
Yes.
Lights, cameras, and a lot of action.
A lot of action, absolutely.
For every action, there's an opposite reaction. Put up a fence.
They will hook that ladder. That could be up and over, in some cases less than a minute.
It's frustrating and expensive. Only 670 miles of the 2,000-mile border will get fencing, and that's behind schedule. The price tag, $1.2 billion, says the Border Patrol, up to $3 million per mile. But factor in lifetime maintenance, and congressional researchers say the price could top $50 billion. Today, almost every mile a different fence. Short, tall, mesh, bars. Intruders defeat every one. Even use car carriers to drive over. If not over, under. 21 tunnels discovered under the border since 2000. Or brazen ways to drive through. This man sewn into a van's seat.
So it sounds like no matter what you do, they're finding a way around it.
Yes, they are. Or they're trying to.
And that's where there is a fence. A state away by third-generation cattleman Richard Hodges' ranch south of Tucson, Arizona, miles and miles of open spaces. That's Mexico on the right, the U.S. on the left. Only rusty barbed wire divides them.
That is no deterrent for anybody to come across.
The government promises a virtual fence of sensors and cameras for areas like this, but with that still on the horizon, those controversial border watchers, the Minutemen, are building a $650,000 real fence along Hodges' mile of border to keep illegal crossers out.
But won't they just move on down the road to the next property?
They will.
They will. It's just not going to stop as long as there's a market for illegals.
This man agrees. We met this coyote, a small-time people smuggler across the border in Tijuana. He asked us to conceal his identity. He boasts that he gets 40 people a week into the U.S., most through the fortified zone near San Diego, up to $3,500 a person.
You can build 3 or 4 fences along the border, but people will continue to cross because of the magnet of work.
Most Americans think that putting up a fence is going to stop the illegal flow. It's not?
No, not in and of itself.
But Fisher says a smart mix of fencing, technology, and manpower can do for the entire border what it's done in San Diego.
And what we've done is we've substantially increased the probability of apprehension. And that probability of apprehension at the border gives us a higher level of control.
The question is, will a nation demanding total control of its borders be satisfied with less? Bill Whitaker, CBS News, along the U.S.-Mexico border.
Tomorrow night, crossing the border the other way, why many farm workers are heading back to Mexico as we continue our series, Immigration Nation. Coming up, the story of a hero that moved the president to tears.
Come on up.
A rare tribute today for a fallen hero. The first time the Medal of Honor has been awarded to a Navy SEAL for action in Iraq. Jim Axelrod has the story of one young man's extraordinary act of valor.
As the parents of Michael Mansour, the 25-year-old Navy SEAL killed in Iraq, accepted the nation's highest military honor.
The Medal of Honor is awarded for an act of such courage that no one could rightly be expected to undertake it.
We were all reminded, some people are just a cut above the rest of us.
If anything were to happen, you knew if Mike was on your side, you were good.
No one knows that better than the men he fought with. In battles like these in Ramadi 18 months ago, Mansour and 3 other SEALs were firing from a rooftop. An insurgent threw a grenade. Mansour was the only one near an exit. The others were trapped.
In that terrible moment, he had 2 options, to save himself or to save his friends. For Mike, there was no choice at all. He threw himself onto the grenade and absorbed the blast with his body.
Seth Stone, his commanding officer, was with Mansour when he died.
Who knows what anyone would have done in that situation. Mike Mansour took the ultimate sacrifice and left nothing to fate except his own fate.
He was always Mikey to his family, the favorite uncle with a devilish smile and a silver Corvette. His sister just knew when her baby brother shipped out, he wasn't coming home.
I don't think any of us really felt like we would see him again. There was just something there about it, and we knew that if anything were to happen, Mike would be the first to jump in and try to fix it or solve it.
Mansour's choice to give his life to save his brother SEALs brought tears to a president today who was honoring uncommon valor that didn't surprise those who knew Michael Mansour best and loved him most, but leaves them heartbroken just the same. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, Washington.
Finally tonight, no one likes noisy neighbors, but in Florida, people were surprised to discover that the ones making all the racket were fish, clearly in the mood for love. Here's Kelly Kobiea.
Was vibrating through the ground.
For 20 years, Marilyn Cicero thought she was living with a ghost.
It would be like dum, 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 all through the house.
Barbara Pete, 2 doors down, heard it too.
It just seemed to be in the room with you.
Actually, it was in here. Their ghost was a fish's mating call, booming through the seawall of their backyard lake and reverberating into their walls.
Your lake is one big pickup joint.
Marine biologist Jim Locascio pinpointed the sound to a black drumfish.
Group spawning is the way they do it. And bringing together a large group of individuals can be done using a sound source.
It's getting kind of racy.
Yeah.
Fish talk in Hollywood all the time.
Maybe he only speaks whale.
But researchers are still learning their real-world language. This is what the real Nemo sounds like. It has nothing on the toadfish. Scientists believe most fish use sounds for mating. But they don't know much more. In fact, they've taped fewer than 1,200 of the 30,000 species in the water. Marilyn is trying to make peace with just one of them, her noisy neighbors.
So how do you get rid of the fish? You can't.
As for the rest of us, there's a whole new noisy world to consider just below the surface. Kelly Kobiella, CBS News, Cape Coral, Florida.
Who knew? That is the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Kitty Couric. Thank you for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Good night.